Like here.
Yeah, right?
As far as isn't a party. I still need to figure out.
Oh, 5 days. I mean, not healthy.
Even better.
Oh, yeah. For little funny thing is for customers, having fear for the wedding. No.
I mean, go ahead and call to order the city council meeting of June 9th. Just a quick reminder to everybody to turn off your ringers and phones, please. Also, you'll note up front, we are not sharing the list of participants and the comments at that screen because there's going to be a presentation utilizing the screen, so we don't share the video there. However, they are being monitored up at the front desk, so if people online have questions or comments that come in, they still will get noticed. It's just not 50 eyes looking at it, it's just a few. Odd number. All right, if you would all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Can I start with a roll call, please?
Westwood,
Here.
Battle,
Here.
Daniel, Davis, here, Ronnie,
Yes.
Rude,
Yes.
Cuban, here.
All right, thank you. You'll note that Councilmember Daniels is not with us tonight. However, the same rules apply per our charter. It still requires 4 votes for a resolution or an ordinance to pass. I'll start by entertaining a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
I move to adopt the agenda as presented.
Second. I have a motion from Councilmember Ronnie, and I think it was Councilmember Battles I heard as a second. Discussion at the table. The only thing we have on there that has a little asterisk, just to kind of call it out that we haven't seen previously, is the T-bid thing, and we've talked about it, so just mention that. Seeing no discussion at the table, can I get a roll call, please?
Battle,
Yes.
Davis, yes, Ronnie,
Yes.
Rude,
Yes.
Cuban,
Yes.
5-0, the motion passes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of May 26th.
I move to approve the minutes of May 26, 2026.
Motion from Councilmember Ronnie, second from Councilmember Davis. Discussion at the table. Seeing none, can I get a roll call, please?
Battle,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Ronnie,
Yes.
Rude,
Yes.
Cuban,
Yes.
5-0, motion passes. Entertain a motion from warrants payable, preferably from one of the council members who helped with that.
I move to approve warrants payable in the amount of $970,195.19.
I have a motion from Councilmember Ronning and a almost loud second from Councilmember Davis. Discussion at the table, and again, would you like to start with a short summary?
Well, were quite a few large payments made, mainly dealing with the projects you see around town. So quite a few. There was $280,713 paid out of our EDA grant fund for K2 Civil, I believe, for the streets project down there. Water was $353,433.29. Sewer was $52,916. Solid waste was $47,738.19. And we did have $119,000 paid out of resort tax, and part of that was our bond for our pool bond. So.
Any questions from the table? Thank you to Councilmember Ronnie and Councilmember Davis for staying yesterday and taking care of that. Lonnie, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
No, there was a lot of bond payments, was
Yeah.
another reason why there was
Okay.
a little bit more, because usually they hit June and December.
Okay. Hearing no discussion at the table, can I get a vote, please?
Battle,
Yes.
Davis, yes, Ronnie,
Yes.
Rude,
Yes.
Cuban,
Yes.
5-0, motion passes. Mayor's comments. So I've got 2 parts tonight. I'm going to do just kind of the comments, and then during the mayor's comment, what we're going to actually do is the T-bid report, which is the, I'm gonna look to Councilmember Tupin to make sure I don't mess it up. Tourism Business
Oh, God.
Improvement.
Improvement
District, thank you. All right. Just a quick quiz, sorry, I didn't warn you I was gonna do that. So we have that for action later on, but we'll have a presentation, and we'll do that, during the mayor's comments. That way there's an opportunity for public comments following all of that before we start our business meeting. FYI, some of you may have noticed, some of our hazard corners along Broadway got modified, and I'm gonna use the term fixed because there's less to trip on. That's something we've been reaching out to MDOT on for a while, and they didn't really give us a notice. They just showed up and did it, and we said, great, we're not complaining. You may note that it's not all of them. What they did is the corners that do not have storm drains were the ones they addressed. If there's still a storm drain system that's there, they have to still accommodate that. Doesn't mean that conversation is dead, but we'll take what we can get to this point. You'll recall that we have, in our stormwater projects, we're gonna be doing some work with those, but what we're doing is the underground portion, not the above ground portion. So we've still gotta figure out how to accommodate those above ground capture drains. Also, kind of just in the FYI category, the county property between ACE and the post office, they are not building their building yet. I think they're gonna be putting out a press release. They are allowing the contractors to use that, and they are staging one of our street projects from there. The county reached out to me to go sign some paperwork that just acknowledges, they kind of track what they do to be helpful to each of the cities. And I went ahead and signed that. There was no expense to the city for that. The pool did open last weekend, has extended hours over what we've had in previous seasons. So it's 6 to 6 on weekdays, with lap swim starting at 6 o'clock and open swim starting at noon. And on weekends, it's 8 to 5, with lap swim going to 11:30 and then going to open swim. We do still have a position open for a pool house manager. That's a 30 to 40 hour a week position. That person is going to be an additional CPO or certified pool operator. The city will pay for that training. And then we also want them to have their CPR, and they'll also be managing a small staff that's responsible for the pool house. Right now, we've got the workers doing that, and the lifeguards kind of all kicking in and helping make that work. And it was a good weekend. Even on, we just avoided saying 6, 7 on Saturday with all the kids coming in.
6, 7.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Really? You are lucky. All right. Just a heads up as an FYI, we do have the resort tax is going to be making their presentation to council in 2 weeks. I just wanted to kind of give a heads up of that. Council, on your tables when you came in today, we have a municipal summit, particularly the block from 9 to 11. That's on Thursday, July 9th. An astute council member noticed that of all the great information on that flyer, the date is not one of them. So that is Thursday, July 9th. I believe some folks have already signed up and are planning on carpooling down. So hopefully you're all able to do that. And there's also, in that online training, I would just encourage you to go through the initial kind of, there's a couple of modules talking about roles, and specifically council and mayor. And I think if we can go through that, before we go to that, we'll get more out of it. That's in Columbus, sorry. That might also not be on
No, that's not.
the date and the Columbus. So you guys all received a flyer of that. And if you have any questions about the location,
It was in the email I forwarded to everyone, so.
Yeah, I think did they forward it to everybody individually, I think?
I don't know.
So you should have a few of it. If you don't, please reach out to your council president
Sure.
or to Lonnie or to me, and we'll make sure you have all of that information since it's not on the flyer. Our B-City status is, again, current for another year, thanks to Rod Fordall from the Parks Board for following that up. Kind of the other thing, along the line of parks, there was a boundary change that was requested from the school board to modify the lease for where we have the land there. It has the potential to impact potential future tennis courts, and it also is impacting disc golf holes that are up there. Several of those holes started on park property but ended on property that is currently lease to the school. There's been a meeting of the minds and Mike drew that paperwork up and sent it off to the school board, or to the school board president, and he's waiting for school board to approve him to sign that. The latest word I got is that we don't need to sign it from a city standpoint, which is odd to me because anytime you modify a lease, I'm used to both sides signing it. But the input we have so far from our city attorney is that we don't have to take action, they just have to take action. But I'm just going to put a small asterisk there that you may see that show up on an agenda. If it comes back and we need to sign it, it may be one of those things that shows up without taking the long road in. From Public Works, all of these projects, by the way, are being managed to make sure that there's a high level of certainty that street interruption is going to be completed before July 1st. You may have noticed it's kind of hard to get to certain businesses and places in town right now. And if that high level of certainty doesn't exist, then they're holding off to start those until after July 4th. Also, all of these projects, if you go online, you can get what the latest information is. So there's maps online, and then they are putting days and estimates out there. And so you just go to the city website. On the front page, down in the middle is latest news, and then from there you click on current projects and initiatives, and you can go click on each of those. I've had a couple of businesses that have reached out, and I've just printed off hard copies of the maps and pointed to them. And it turned out they weren't, you know, they were always a block or two away, so it didn't impact them directly. Water projects, so those are going. There's been a lot of real-time adjustments. Thanks to Mike and his team. They got into doing some of those lines that were identified as being cast iron, and they got into them and found out that the documentation and what existed in reality didn't match. And so there's 2 or 3 blocks of that have been backed out, and they've added some blocks on Adams that are also known to have those old cast iron lines to update. So just kind of real-time adjustments that you do on these large projects. The floodplain, you remember we had to rerun the floodplain permit a couple of weeks ago. That has come in, so work has now begun down on the south end, down by Park Avenue and that area as well. Sewer, that's up for action tonight. And you'll recall that has just some changes and tweaks because the folks paying for the sewer said stormwater has to be gone or they won't pay for that part of the sewer, and so that's addressed in that layout. And then the streets, which is the EDA, which is most of the digging you see on the north end of town. Mike, that's about a 2-week process by the time they kind of start.
To get a block down to the 18-inch subgrade is probably a little over a week of work. And then they build it back up, and then it'll be open for traffic. Once they get down to 5th on Hagen, then the concrete crew will come in behind and start doing curb and gutter behind them, and hopefully the excavation crew will have a big enough lead they won't catch up, and they'll finish out on the east side and get it all prepped for paving. I don't know for sure if they're going to do 2 moves of paving and pave that first, or just have it prepped for paving and then jump to the west side.
What we've found out is the ones that they've gotten down to the subgrade and compacted and level, while dirt, are still smoother than what the concrete was before. So again, 4th of July is in everybody's mind as they manage those projects. The street sweeper is out. Potholes are being filled whenever, so those are kind of things that are on the to-do list when there's not being called off for other things. Those of you who've driven Broadway down past the Roosevelt, you may have noticed the first street project. Roosevelt was one of the folks that took advantage of that sidewalk share program that the city put out. And I will say that's a significant improvement over what was there before, so good to see that. I think that's all I had on my list. Was there anything else from council? All right, hearing none, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and yield my time and give Casey some time. Casey, if you had asked earlier about a spot to stand, I'm just gonna say that the mic is right here that's picking up that center mic, so if you can kind of be,
AJ?
AJ. What did I say?
Last name first.
AJ.
Those are both initials from the English language even. Okay. AJ, if you would, like to go ahead and start sharing your screen, you can give your presentation now, and if you would please, 10 to 15 minutes, fair?
Oh, way more.
All right.
Yeah, you guys are in for a real treat. Let's talk.
Can he introduce himself, please?
Yeah, AJ, as you start, will you introduce yourself, since clearly I don't know?
Yes, I will.
And then if you would also just make a distinction between this and, because it says tourism in it, the distinction between TBID and the tourism project, which is unrelated.
No sweat. Yeah, I'm just gonna get this fired up in slideshow mode. All right, cool. My name is Andrew Christensen. I'm here to represent the TBID board. I'm president of that, among many other things, as you all are in Red Lodge. This is a budget plan for our fiscal year of 2026 to 2027 that starts at the end of June, and it's kind of like a non-calendar year, so it's a little wonky, but that's what I'll be reviewing. And what this is these are funds collected by business, hotels and Airbnb within the TBID district in the city. It's $2 per night, and we put those funds into more or less things that are going to put heads in beds. I've got a slide for that. But this is completely different than the tourism pilot grant that's going on. Those are like capital improvement projects, things like that. This is an ongoing thing that is funded by tourists staying in Red Lodge. All right. Just to kind of give you guys the lay of the land of where we're going, we're going to start with a mission statement, talk about our initiatives for the upcoming budget year. We're going to go over spend by category and some of the major components of the budget. And then I do have a supplemental thing that I just emailed. I don't have it as part of this deck. It is emailed to the city council through Lonnie. It's a P&L, so I don't think anyone's going to be too excited about that, but we do have that available for detailed review. All right, so like I said earlier, more or less the mission of TBID is to put heads in beds, and how we do that is a couple of ways. It's either providing funding for ongoing events that are going to be overnight, to have people stay. Also, just like the general programming of things that are happening within the city of Red Lodge, just to make it be known as a place where things are happening, things are going on. I don't have to have a plan. I can show up into Red Lodge, and I know there's going to be activities and things going on. Other things we do too is just general awareness, right? That's a big part of what we do, is getting people regionally aware. We have to draw the line somewhere, but our responsibility is generally within the region, letting people know that Red Lodge is the place to go. You know, you have your people who are doing their loops, their routes, and when they're in Cody, we want them to know that Red Lodge is worth a stop. So that's what we use our funds for, and that's essentially our mission statement in a nutshell. For this year, we've got 3 main initiatives that we're working on. The first one, this one's a little different. We're more or less putting our money to work. We run with an operational reserve, more or less, where we roll over year to year, and we want to put some of that to work by putting that into an interest-bearing account, probably in the form of a CD. We haven't made that final decision yet, but more or less just trying to be, you know, fiscally responsible with the funds that we do have, and maximizing what we have available to us. Next thing is this is a bigger one. This has been talked about for a while, is hiring a marketing coordinator. We want to work alongside the chamber, just with all the stuff that we have going on. This is a good thing with the amount of activities, initiatives, and things that we're trying to do. We've gotten to the point where the volunteer board, we have no shortage of ideas, but we all kind of run out of time on execution. And so what we're looking to do is find it's not a full-time position, it'd be a contracted position, but a role where someone can interface with vendors, work with, you know, like we do a billboard up in Laurel, like having those conversations, having those negotiations and discussions, because we've all ran ourselves pretty thin, and one of our bigger contributors, obviously, is Sherry Weimer as well, and there's only so much she can do. So, we're trying to find someone to bring some relief, and it'll be a partnership, with TVID's putting on and also working alongside the chamber. Yeah, like I said, the whole point, really gonna allow for us to really accelerate and have some expanded marketing efforts. Last bit here, this has been ongoing, but, we're just kind of putting more and more of a focus on this. As you guys all know, in this day and age, content is king, and so what we're trying to do is really just build out our photo library, some really like, you know, maybe some higher production, videos of the area, things like that that we can use for all the different marketing pieces that we have going on. And so we're just making a conscious effort to categorize that, contract some people with that, and then just make sure it's organized and accessible, for future use. All right, hopefully your eyes don't glaze over, but we're gonna get some numbers here. All right, so we're starting at the top. Most important thing here is what we have, as for an assumption on collections for the year. We have $95,000, is what we project to have for the next budget cycle. This is a conservative estimate. It's relatively, effectively flat, from what we're actually gonna collect this year to what we're doing next year. We just we'd rather be pleasantly surprised than be banking on funds that might not come our way. For translations, it's kind of fun to think of it, that's equal to 47,500 room nights. So that's a lot of volume, which is pretty cool. And obviously we want to continue to grow that number, to increase what we have available to us. All right, next, there's a lot on here. The big point here is we spend by category. These 4 categories, advertising, agency fees, events, and brochures, that makes up 86% of our spend. So just those 4 areas is where we're putting the bulk of our money. The rest of it is gonna be, you know, like administrative stuff, things like that. But this is where we put most of our money. And I'm just gonna kind of give some examples of what each of these are. Like for advertising, we put Red Lodge in various forms and ways into 10 to 12 different publications. You know, it's like the Cody Guide, the Yellowstone Magazine, Distinctly Montana, things like that. And then obviously the I-90 billboard that we have up in Morrill. We contribute to that along with the Mountain and a few others to keep that a prime location, you know, essentially advertising Red Lodge. It's about to turn here. Agency fees, these are essentially contracted services, stuff that we don't do in-house. Photography, videography, this is where the coordinating role is going to come from. That's where we have bucketed and allocated there. And then also any sort of like social media stuff. You know, we paid an influencer to do a quick little historical video about the Red Lodge area and hit up a couple different locations and put that up. So that's how we use those funds. Events, this is a big one for us, obviously. We are potentially budgeted for about 35 events. 27 of them are existing. And so we put money aside to keep those going and to continue to have those grow. There's a pretty decent list here. I don't need to read through all of them, but that's a good example of, you know, we do stuff from the car show to basketball tournaments to helping with fireworks. And then we also have a bucket for new events. Like we had a couple, like a concert series, 2 concert series pop up at the Roosevelt as they've developed their space. And so people are using that, and we kind of help out with, you know, getting band talent or whatever it may be, with the hopes of, again, just building that knowledge that there's something going on in Red Lodge. People go to a show, they go out to dinner, and then maybe, hopefully, they stay the night, you know, keep them here a little bit longer. The other major category is brochures. So this is a brochure that we distribute massively. There's 75,000 copies that get sent out. And this is essentially like a map of the Beartooth Highway, and then all the list of the participating people who contribute to TVID are on that list. It's the business information and really just places to stay and giving people like a quick, cheap user guide of the area and what's available to them for lodging options. And then here, just as a, chart, yay, have a comparison, just kind of showing a little bit of shift in these, like, key areas, year over year. Orange is last year, blue is what we're, proposing for the current year. Biggest change you can see here is the agency fee, that we've increased the spending there, and that's really to burn mark dollars, for that contracted position of a marketing coordinator. Everything else is pretty much the same year over year. We did, bump up opportunity to spend a little bit. We were able to do that. And then events and sponsorships, you can see, is growing year over year as well. Other than that, that is the gist of it. I'm happy to answer any questions, but, that's what we're using, that's the money we have, and that's what we're doing.
Any questions from the table, and for the public, we'll have that presentation will be part of the packet next time, so anybody wants to look at that in more detail,
Yeah.
it'll be turned in and shared. All right, seeing no questions from the table, thank you, Andrew / AJ. Or
Not Casey.
Not Casey, yeah.
All right, thank you. At this point, we're going to move on to public comment. This is the first of several opportunities to comment. You'll note in looking at the agenda, we have a public comment at the beginning of the meeting. We also have a public comment at the end of the meeting, which is a public comment to offer a comment for anything within the council's purview. You'll also note that on the action items, anything that's an action item, we also take action, we also allow public comment on a per action item for that specific thing. If you'd like to take public comment, we'll look to the room first. If you step up to the front of the room, because that's where the mic is, and that way the folks that are online and viewing the recording later can hear you. Rules are on the side, be respectful, state your name, state where you reside, that's general, you don't have to give your address. And then direct your comments to the table. If there's any like I said, it's not an opportunity for Q&A, it's just an opportunity to be heard. At the end of public comment, if I feel it's necessary, we'll give council an opportunity to add. But with that, let's go ahead and I've got a nifty little timer here that I'll put there so that I don't have to give hand signs and confuse people. That will go ahead and officially open public comment. We'll look to the room first. I'm not seeing anybody jump to the podium in the room, so I'm looking online. Lonnie's looking online. I'm not seeing any hands raised or microphones coming off or cameras turning on. Any of those three things would indicate somebody online wanted to comment. Calling for public comment twice. Calling for public comment 3 times. We'll go ahead and close that block of public comment. Moving on with our action-packed agenda, I will entertain a motion for Resolution 3740.
I move to approve resolution number 3740, a resolution to award the Phase 2 and 3 wastewater system improvements project for the city of Red Lodge.
Second.
Thank you.
I have a motion from Councilmember Ronning, a second from Councilmember Battles. Mike, if you're okay, I'll give you guys the floor for a couple minutes if you'd like to provide a short summary, and then mostly what I'm going to do is have them available to answer any questions council may have before we go to public comment and then action on the item. Chad, go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm Chad Hansen with Great West Engineering. So we opened the bids on the Phase 2 and 3 wastewater project May 28th. We got good bids. COP Construction is the low bidder on this project as well. They're currently doing the water project. The project, the mayor touched on it earlier, did increase in cost and scope because DEQ, when they reviewed it, required we add 3 blocks of stormwater to the project because you had inlets dumping stormwater directly into sewer manholes. And even though it's identified in your stormwater plan and eventually going to get fixed, they said it has to get fixed now or we couldn't use the funding. So they put together, there's 3 phases of sewer, and then there's a block of water and a block of stormwater on 22nd west of White Avenue, because as long as we're tearing up the street, we're going to do it all at once. So I put together on the second page of the recommendation, oh no, that's the funding, it's on the first, which would kind of show the scenarios if we awarded the various phases and the additive alternates, including a 10% contingency, the construction for inspection and stuff. And then Lonnie and Mike confirmed, is my understanding, that there are sufficient reserves in all three enterprise funds to cover it with those additional costs, so that's kind of where we're at. If you guys have any questions.
So Chad, I'm just looking at the bids that came in, and I'm noticing the amount we have in the resolution of $2,346,205 is for phase 2B, 2C, and 3, plus alternatives 1 and alternative 2.
Correct.
And that's the bid on that bottom line in the second column there.
Yeah, and that was my understanding, Mike, that you wanted to move forward with all three phases and both additive alternates. Yep.
Can you speak to the difference between that number of 2.3 and then the second page that totals up to 2.9?
So the $2,346,205 is COP Construction's bid for the construction.
Okay.
But then the 2.9 project budget includes a 10% contingency because we're in Red Lodge, especially, we dig up all sorts of things that we didn't expect. And then we'll have to do an amendment to our task order to provide the construction services where we review submittals, pay applications, things like that, and have the on-site inspector. And then do all the DEQ certification and stuff. So it compounds in addition to just the straight construction cost.
Any other questions from the table? All right. Hearing none, if you'd like to take a seat for a moment, but don't leave yet. We will go ahead and open up public comment, specifically in relation to Resolution 3740, awarding the water system improvement project. Looking to the room.
Wastewater.
I'm sorry, wastewater.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. I got the number right.
You did.
Okay.
That was name.
Wow. All right, seeing no action in the room, I'm looking online for hands, mics, or cameras. Calling for public comment twice. Calling for public comment 3 times. Go ahead and close public comment in relation to Resolution 3740. Bring it back to the table. Any last questions before we take a vote? Lonnie, can I get a roll call, please?
Battle?
Yes.
Green?
Davis,
Yes.
Ronnie,
Yes.
Reed, yes.
Tubin,
Yes.
5-0, that motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll entertain motion for Resolution 3741.
Oh, sorry, let me get through the stuff here. I apologize. I move to approve resolution number
3741.
Thank you. Sorry, did I miss it? I move to approve resolution number 3741, a resolution of the City Council of Red Lodge, Montana to set fees for collection and disposal of solid waste.
I'll second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Ronning, a second from Councilmember Tupin. Discussion at the table.
Well, we talked about this last time. There's no real changes here from last time. The fees in this are the maximum amount that they will be. They could be less because of the cash index and the what was it called? Yeah, the CPI. The most it will be, the annual increase is up to 4.5%, dependent on the CPI, water, sewer, trash index. So this would be the max fee for each year. It could be less. So, and it does include an administrative fee for the city to get their costs back for administering the bills and the payments. Everything.
Questions at the table before we go to public comment? Seeing none, since we have talked about this in the work sessions in the past, so we'll go ahead and open public comment specifically tied to Resolution 3741 and solid waste fees. Looking first to the room. Seeing no action, looking online, mics, raised hands, cameras, calling for public comment twice. Third time's the charm, we'll go ahead and close public comment. Bring it back to the table. Councilmember Root.
I do know that it's still called interagency grizzle bear.
Grizzle.
Can we not fix that?
Okay, we can make that change without an edit.
Yes, please.
Can we keep it though?
I kind of like it.
I know.
So that's in the last sentence above the chart. Thank you, Councilmember Root.
Where those days?
Any other discussion at the table? Can I get a roll call, please?
Battles?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Running?
Yes.
Rude?
Yes.
Tupin?
Yes.
5-0, that motion carries. I'll entertain a motion for resolution 3739.
I move to approve resolution number 3739, a resolution of the City Council of Red Lodge, Montana to procure workers' compensation insurance with Montana State Fund.
I'll second.
Have a motion from Councilmember Ronning, a second from Councilmember Tupin. Discussion at the table. Councilmember Root.
I'm just assuming that this deed has been done, there's gonna be a seamless transition. Okay, that's all you need to know. Thank you.
I'd like to clarify, it has not been done yet until you approve it, but it's assumed to be seamless.
It will be seamless.
Yes.
I will be done.
So as everyone, as we talked about this before, MMIA, our insurance carrier, will no longer be offering workers' comp insurance ending June 30th. So July 1st, we will be getting our own insurance through a Montana State Fund. It's kind of with the classes of work descriptions that we have in the city, Montana State Fund is probably one of the only ones that will cover us to include everybody. You know, there's some private workers' comp insurers out there, but they will not cover police officers, public works employees. You know, but they'd be fine with the office, but nothing else. So.
And just from previous conversations, kind of the background and what led up to this, several of the larger municipalities and counties had already switched from MMIA to the Montana State Fund, and what happened is the self-insured fund of all the municipalities was getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and at a certain point it didn't make sense because they would have had to continue to raise their rates to do reinsurance to cover those losses. So that's a service that they said, there's another entity serving the government municipalities, and so they stopped providing that. And they did give us ample notice it was coming, and this is where most of the municipalities are going, probably all, I think, just because of the limit options that were available. Any further questions at the table before we go to public comment? Seeing none, public comment on resolution 3739, the worker comp resolution for Montana State Fund. Go ahead and open public comment. Not seeing any public comment. Looking to online. No hands, no mics. Calling for public comment twice. Third time for public comment on resolution 3739. And we'll go ahead and close that. I know some of you are looking at us going, why do they do that when nobody stands up or raises things? Our job is to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to. So we try to do that and stay consistent. So thank you for your patience while we stick to process. Any further discussion at the table? Hearing none, can I get a roll call, please?
Battles?
Yes.
Davis? Yes. Running?
Yes.
Rude? Yes. Tupin?
Yes.
5-0, motion passes. I'll entertain a motion for 3742.
I move to approve resolution number 3742, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Red Lodge, Montana, to approve the Red Lodge Tourism Business Improvement District, Red Lodge TBED, fiscal year 2026-2027 budget.
I'll second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Ronning, a second from Councilmember Tupin. For the public, I'll just share that the TBID was established in 2011 by Resolution 3337, which is in there, and then amended in 2019. It's basically a self-imposed tax by those industries that support the tourists. But part of their setup is that they are required to, on an annual basis, come and give a presentation to the council and in that same light, the public. And so that was the presentation we saw tonight during Mayor's comments. Any additional comments from the table?
Just as a member of TBID, one thing that is unique to our local TBID is we are one of the very few in the state, because there's numerous TBIDs throughout the state of Montana. It is a Montana regulated organization, essentially, but we are one of the very few that actually incorporate short-term rentals as well. So that really does open up a substantial amount of funding for our different different grant opportunities. Again, we have many people that come to us, and for whether it's a new event or an old event that's maintaining, it's really nice to be able to help contribute and put those dollars to work, so.
And then I just, I'll restate just because I want to be as clear as we can in the public eye. This has zero relationship to the tourism grant.
Yeah.
And so not tied to that at all.
I have a question.
Councilmember Reed.
I guess it's to you and Andrew. So, the, short-term rentals, only within the business district, or are they short-term rentals anywhere?
I can answer that. Within city limits are required, but you can voluntarily, contribute as well.
Okay.
So, for instance, most of the short-term rental organizations that are involved with TBID and do contribute, also opt in and contribute for their outside of town properties as well. And then in the past, Rock Creek Resort has also been a contributor, even though they've been outside of city limits.
Okay.
So it is voluntary for those folks. They don't have to, but within city limits, if you have more than 3 short-term rentals, you have to contribute. Anything less than 3, so individually ran short-term rentals do not, and specifically it is just for organization purposes, because herding cats, if you will.
Okay, thank you.
And I think it says something that a lot of the organizations, you mentioned Rock Creek Resort, and I know the rental companies that manage multiple properties do collect for those outside of town as well. I think some of that is consistency in pricing, but I think it's also an acknowledgement of the benefit they receive from the marketing efforts that get played.
And that's 99.9% of it.
All right, any further discussion at the table? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and open public comment on Resolution 3742. Looking to the room? Looking to online? Second call for public comment relating to TBID. 3 times, we'll go ahead and wrap that up and close public comment. Further discussion at the table? Hearing none, can I get a roll call, please?
Adams?
Yes.
Davis? Yes. Ronnie?
Yes.
Rude?
Yes.
Stupin?
Yes.
5-0, the motion passes. Thank you, Andrew, for coming and giving that presentation tonight. Much appreciated. And Councilmember Tupin, thanks for your continued involvement in that. I know that's kind of how we roped you into this direction. You got to toe in and then they moved you up.
I don't necessarily think that's what did it, but okay. Thanks, AJ.
All right, I will entertain a motion for Resolution 3743.
I move to approve resolution number 3743, a resolution of the City Council of Red Lodge, Montana, to review and accept a donation of land for a walking trail.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Ronning, a second from Councilmember Battles. I will point out that there were some edits and changes that were made yesterday at the committee level, just for some clarity. Nothing significant. There's a couple of additional copies that were at the table up front. If there's somebody who hasn't seen those and has an interest in, you're certainly welcome in borrowing mine. But ultimately, probably at the end of the discussion, what I'll look for is probably a motion as amended. But let's go ahead and have discussion at the table
Okay.
before we get
Do you want me to go through those changes really quick, or?
discussion at the table, feel free.
Okay, so, the changes that were made at the committee, the 3 first whereases are all the same. The 4th whereas, where it said the city had determined that this property and walking trail would connect the trails in town to the walking trails already established near the airport, has been changed to read, whereas the city has determined that this trail will enhance trail connectivity within the city of Red Lodge. And then the next one down, whereas the city had determined that this would allow the citizens of Red Lodge a far more extensive walking system town that would protect the citizens from walking in the city streets. So we changed that to read, whereas the city has determined that this property and walking trail would connect town to the current airport trail system. I'm not quite sure what that was saying. And then the next one, we added whereas it says, whereas the proposed trail is in line with the 2016 Active Transportation Plan. And then, let's see. And then the final whereas we have as, whereas the city has determined that accepting this donation is in the best interest of the public health and safety of the citizens of Red Lodge. So the last two are totally changed, is that right?
Our new.
Are gone, are new, yes, are new. So, and then we have, just a few changes, in the donation agreement itself. The donation value, on the first page, number 2, we just added that the appraisal report was prepared by a certified appraiser. So it's not just, some random number. It was a certified appraiser, which is also in the appraisal is in the packet for anyone that would like to look at it. And then number 7, under closing costs and closing date, we just added that the city shall pay all remaining closing costs, not all closing costs, because the donator has already paid for the appraisal, I believe. So, and then number 11, under remedies, we just have, if either party accepts the offers contained in this agreement, not sure, what did we change there?
We just added.
It didn't have party, I think.
We
Oh,
added
okay.
Party at the beginning.
Thank you.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And we did get clarification from the city attorney as to the meaning and reason behind that paragraph. Without that paragraph, basically, is that the right one, or is that further down?
I think
Sorry.
it's further down that you're speaking about.
The 25 years,
Yeah.
because otherwise, all of the stuff basically ends at closing. So there were, some clauses in there, and I will add that there was some formatting differences, so like number 15 wasn't its own number. And Councilmember Davis just pointed out to me that we have a spelling error in the resolution on the therefore that we can fix also. That doesn't require a motion. Just for public clarification, there was a couple of correspondence received that went in the packet that had talked or mentioned about requirements or conditions. And to my best reading, as I went through here, the only things that I saw that would qualify as quote-unquote conditions was that I'm looking for the list, I know them in my brain, that in number 3, the donor shall have the option to install a memorial bench. They have to work with, they will have to work with the city to do that, so that'll have it come through Parks. There's also one that says they have the option of installing some exercise equipment.
Stations.
Pardon?
Stations.
Exercise stations. So that's an option. And then the last one was in the one that was actually suggested by our Public Works director, which is the walking trail that says it's basically being donated for the purpose of constructing a trail. And if we don't do that within 5 years, it reverts to the landowner. And that gave us the ability to go in and do the desired engineering and studies on it, but after it's city land as opposed to doing engineering studies on somebody else's land. So those were the only 3 things that I saw in there that were quote-unquote conditions. Discussion at the table. Councilmember Davis?
And just another grammatical, on item number 11 on page 2, if either party.
Oh, if the,
Yep.
say
If
if
the
either party.
either.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments at the table before we go to public comment?
I had something. I'm curious if the donation agreement should come before the resolution. And I'm sure I can be corrected here, but I have a question of Mr. O'Neill, who I'm happy is here tonight, but I think it has more to do with the donation agreement than the resolution. And I want to vote for the resolution, but I don't want to vote for it until I have the answer from Mr. O'Neill.
Okay.
So I just seems like it might be out of
Yes,
order.
I think the resolution is basically based on the donation agreement.
Correct.
So if you have a question, do
Yeah.
you want to ask that question now, or do you want to ask it after public
Well,
comment?
I'd like to vote, I'd like to ask him before I vote, because then it'd be a little disingenuous if I kind of get,
No, I meant before public comment. Mr. O'Neill, do you mind stepping up to the front of the room?
Sure thing.
hi.
Councilmember Root, go ahead.
I follow the rules.
Oh.
It won't take 3 minutes.
I'm Greg O'Neill, and I live over on Ward Avenue here in town.
Oh, Mr. O'Neill, thank you for coming. Okay, I just want to get the elephant out of the room. We've been hearing since the get-go that the path is going to be dictated one way or the other, and, I just want to know that
No.
it's going to go this way or that way. I just want to hear it from you.
I have no conditions on where it goes.
Okay, that's it. Like,
That was
easy?
simple.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and in the conditions we've had, basically the trail ends at the top of the park. There was a conversation, and it was listed as a condition, but just as a recommendation that we will put signage in. I will share in my very early conversations with Mr. O'Neill, the conversations where it depends on where they're going. If they're going there, it makes sense to go down that road. If they're going there, it makes that.
Just wanted to hear from him.
Yeah, and I've heard that multiple times, but I appreciate the getting it out of this meeting, because this is the meeting people will come to
Right.
hear from that. Other questions from the table? All right, hearing none, let's go ahead and move to public comment specific to Resolution 3743. I'll go ahead and open public comment at this time. Looking to the room. Please come forward. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to use this nifty little thing.
Hi, my name is Joyce Barrett, and I reside here in Red Lodge, Montana. I'm going to make a very simple, brief statement. I believe having the access from the airport for downtown of Red Lodge is really vital to our community. It would be a very positive impact on our trail system. I own a retail store downtown, and I am asked on a daily basis, specifically in the summer, about the trails around town, and having that better access up there, I think is very, very important. It would be, and I'm sure been spoke before, but having access from the spires, from Remington Ranch, the golf course, and Alpine Basin, a safe way to get to our downtown is really important. I drive up that hill all the time. I think it's extremely dangerous to have people with strollers, walking dogs on the little side of the road because there isn't a sidewalk there. Hopefully this will direct them to a much safer way to get to our downtown. I think it's a very generous donation by Greg O'Neill to offer this to our city. And I walk that trail daily. It would be greatly enhance my walking experience to be able to have that access to downtown Red Lodge. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. All right, other comments within the room? Please come forward.
Hi, I'm Denny Salveson. Is that all I need to say? I'm here to support the trail. I really enjoy coming from a community that supports such a thing. You know, it gives everybody an opportunity to walk their dog. You don't have to drive up to the airport and get in a car and save all that energy and save all of our waste. Give the mothers somewhere to walk their kids. Give their grandparents, me, somewhere to walk my grandkids. Just so many opportunities this trail brings to the table. Without it, we don't have them right now. I can't take my grandkids up to that trail because I don't want to walk on the Airport Hill Road. So just hoping that this gets passed and we get a real nice addition to our community.
Thank you, Denny.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Other public comment from the room? Seeing none in the room, I'm looking, oh, wait. Sorry?
I'm Caden Lottie. I reside on Ward Avenue. I figured it would be fitting if I came and actually said something here. But, you know, with the trail proposal. I think it's such a vital opportunity for our community to benefit in so many ways. And I know we've all heard, you know, a lot of the positives and the negatives, and a lot of the studies have been put forth. And I'm actually very surprised at the amount of negative comments I've heard around town, but people just haven't put the wherewithal to look at the details and the studies, and they don't know the details. But, you know, so graciously, Nick Gaddy and the Trails Board and even the Parks Board have really done a great job, I think, getting those details out for people who care to understand and listen to them. And so every possible negative that I've heard has already had a solution proposed to some degree, which I think has been great to hear. Anyhow, I do think that it would be healthy for the community in general, not only just physically, of course, but mentally as well, to give people a way to connect, you know, to the dog park, to the many activities that happen at the fairgrounds and the airport and all of the above. I've been confronted personally with many individuals thanking me, even though I technically have no say, you know, into what goes on, just thanking me for being in support of this trail, because there are a lot of people who rely on Highway 78 to get down to town. And, you know, I pass there every day and see people walking down, and it makes me cringe. You know, and I would never personally walk down there myself. So just hearing the amount of support as well against the negatives for this has been very heartwarming, and I think it would be a great asset to the community, and I hope that we can figure out a solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Caden. All right, back to the room. All right, seeing nobody moving in the room, I'm looking to online, looking for hands, cameras, mics being turned off or enabled. Going twice. Going 3 times. We'll go ahead and close the public comment and bring discussion for Resolution 3743 back to the table. Discussion at the table.
I just want to just call out the fact that this is something that's not just included within our action plan in Align, but it's actually directly called out in the action plan, the specific trail. And as someone who lives on Brewery Hill and sees people walking up and down that hill every day, I think that this is crucial, because it's a sketchy walk. And I'm excited that there's some opportunity for the folks that live right there up top, the access point down to downtown and the IGA is so much more accessible than even just those few blocks over one way or the other. So.
All right. Further discussion at the table? Before we do a roll call, just to keep it official, can I look to the motioners and seconders to amend their motion to basically say as amended, to just kind of group all those things that you read into rather than reading them individually?
I move to approve resolution number 3743, a resolution of the City Council of Red Lodge, Montana, to review and accept a donation of land for a walking trail as amended.
Reseconded.
All right, so on the amended motion, so that's where our action will be, it'll just be a single action. It'll be on the amended, and that will include the agreements to the donation agreement as well. So it's there. Seeing no further discussion at the table, can I get a roll call, please?
Adam?
Yes.
Davis? Yes. Ronnie?
Yes.
Bruce? Yes. Stephen?
Yes.
5-0, the motion passes. And Mr. O'Neill, may I say, on behalf of the city, thank you for your very generous donation. I would like to clarify that what this trail does is it doesn't mean nobody's going to walk down 78 anymore, but it does give them an alternative to do so.
Yeah.
There will still be additional discussions, and for those who've read the agreement, as activities start to take place, it does require city involvement and approval, and those things will go through the normal process before we move on. So anyway, thank you. All right, I will entertain a motion for resolution, ordinance 973, first amended, and just for the public's awareness, the difference between a resolution and an ordinance. Ordinance is how we establish the municipal code, AKA the laws, and by definition, they have to go through 2 public hearings and readings and approval. So the resolutions have now all passed. The next 2 actions are ordinances, and this is just part A. They will be back. I'll entertain a motion for ordinance number 973, first amended.
Okay. I move to approve ordinance number 973, first amended, an ordinance of the City of Red Lodge, Montana to update sections 4.1.16, solid waste of the Public Health and Safety Red Lodge City Municipal Code, public hearing, first reading.
Thank you for including that on the motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion from Councilmember Battles and, a motion from Councilmember I'm thrown by the mouse in my right ear. I have a motion from Councilmember Ronning and a second from the mouse to my right, Councilmember Davis. Discussion at the table.
Okay. Do we discuss it before we have the public hearing?
We do.
Okay. So, we talked about this, a couple times, and the Public Works Committee has been working on this. It's just updating, ordinance 973 to include our current policies and procedures for residential solid waste. There were just a couple of changes, rather than have it based on, your water hookup, it's based on residential units. Every residential unit in town must have a garbage can, a bear-resistant garbage can. It's just a slight change. It's not really going to affect that much. Let me see, what else did we do? We just kind of changed a couple things around. We moved, all commercial industrial apartment operators shall provide solid waste handling. We moved that down to the business part. It's now G down below. And then K, and this is where the meat of it starts. Every residential unit within the City of Red Lodge is required to have one bear-resistant container, which is contracted service that the City of Red Lodge provides, and currently we provide that with Republic Services. Residential solid waste services shall be billed monthly on the property owner's utility bill, which is how it is. And like I say, we're just codifying what our current policies and procedures. Residential garbage rates may increase on an annual basis and shall be set by resolution, and we just passed that tonight. Residential units of more than 4 units on one property may choose to have a latching dumpster for their tenants in lieu of individual bear-resistant containers with the service of their choice. The property owner will be responsible to contract and pay for this service if they choose this option, so it would not be through the city. An accessory dwelling unit used for personal use, including but not limited to office space or guest house for family or friends that is used 30 consecutive days or less and receives no monetary reimbursement, may opt out of the required second bear-resistant container. A certification must be filed with the City of Red Lodge that the above requirement shall be followed to utilize this option. So they're still required to have one per residential unit. However, if they have a guest house that's basically vacant, there's no monetary money being, it's not a short-term rental, it's not a long-term rental, you're not getting any monetary reimbursement for that building, you can opt out of that second can, but you have to sign an affidavit with the city. And then P, if any container or dumpster is determined by local authorities and or contracted services to be overfilled 3 times within a 1-year period, the property owner will be required to have and pay for an additional container or increase their dumpster size or number of pickups. So that's for both residential and commercial. If a resident needs an additional container, it will be charged on the property owner's utility bill at the property owner's expense. So those are the big changes. Any questions or comments?
I will add, Mike had to leave, he had other commitments, but I will just add so the full council is aware. Mike stated an opposition to number O, letter O, which is the option to basically say if you've got a second unit and you're not using it, and his feeling was that we were making code to basically for corner hole cases, of which there might be 1 or 2 or 3 within. So I just want to make council aware of that. My question is, if we're going to keep O in there, do we want to say may opt out of the required second? Do we want to say additional? Because what happens if there's a couple of those units that aren't being used except for family? I just pose that as a thought.
I too would like to just see O gone. I don't think it's necessary.
Additional discussion at the table before we go to public comment?
You want to make a motion?
And then also, lodge is not spelled correct, I know, but I will
Where's
make a
that at?
motion to remove, it's just not capitalized, but I would make a motion to, approve the ordinance with the amendment of removing O. Is that how you say that?
Yeah, I move to
I
strike
would
O.
put strike O.
Okay. There's a motion from Councilmember Tupin. Is there a second at the table?
Second that.
Okay, I have a second from Councilmember, Battle, we'll go with Battle on that. With that, we shift to discussing just the inclusion or exclusion of O at the table.
Okay, so what's the problem with O? I don't have a problem. Tell me, talk to me.
I'm a little confused by the 30 days for one, so office space. Why does that need a garbage can?
It doesn't, that's what we're saying.
Well, it says,
Like, if you're using a residential unit as, like, your office.
right, that is used for 30 consecutive days or less, may opt out?
Yeah.
No, it's a office space or guest house for family or friends. Yeah.
Is used for 30 consecutive days or less,
Yeah, if I-
and receives no monetary reimbursement.
Right.
Like, the monetary reimbursements where I'm at is like, whether you make money or not, it doesn't just, like, change how much trash you create. That's kind of my
Well,
thought.
the reason why the monetary reimbursement was in there, because, staff wanted to make sure that, short-term rentals have a second.
If there is one back
Yeah,
here. Right.
yeah, so if they're getting
Which-
money from, or a long-term rental or a short-term rental.
I think with how
So-
this, I think it's covered with how this ordinance reads and the fact that if it's proving that you need more trash cans, you have to get more trash cans. So whether or not you have five little cabins in the back and they're never getting used and you don't have to have that additional trash can if there's not enough trash, or if there's one person that's making an insane amount of trash that they need an additional trash can, I think that's covered within this ordinance, whether or not it's 30 days or less consecutive, how many dwellings.
So I would propose that the ordinance covers half of the conversations you just said, in that it says, regardless if you've got one, if you're using 3 trash cans every week, you've got to do that.
Mhm.
It does not cover the ability where I have somebody who has an ADU that they're just using as an office.
Right.
And they have 2 water meters, and so they get billed a second service. So this, other than O, it doesn't, this, O is intended to make it so that there is an option
Sure.
for them to come in and say, just because that's an ADU, I'm not using it, I don't think I should be paying trash for that.
Things can change like that, and they'll need it. I mean, you know,
They might.
but why not have one? I mean,
Because then you're paying for a thing that you're
Yeah,
not.
paying for a thing that you're not using.
you will use it.
You don't necessarily know that, Ann. Like, that's the difference, is like, again, we can't determine how people are utilizing their property, but what we can determine is if they're using too much trash and have to pay for that.
And I think we cover that in P, that
Right.
basically you need more. I think
Yep.
P covers that. The question is, do we want to address those corner cases where somebody's not using it and say, we don't have to? So from a staff position, from an administration standpoint, we negotiate those numbers once a year, and then we are stuck with that, paying for that throughout the year. So the question is, are we gonna get to collect for that or not? So the concern that I have is somebody says, I'm not gonna do that, they come in and fill out the affidavit, they're not paying for a can, and then they switch over to that, we won't be billing.
Question on this, and this is something that comes from other ordinances that we've done in the past, is how is this premises determined? Is it actually done by meter, or is it done by?
No, it's residential units.
So this makes.
It's no longer by meter.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
That's
it used
so
to be by, it
yeah.
used to be by meter, and now it's changed to the number of buildings that could be considered a dwelling. Is that a fair way to say
A
that?
residential unit,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
So, and that would probably, I mean, you have to have probably a bathroom and.
Well, a bed, they have a place to eat bed.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. They can't it's not just your shed. that's in your backyard that you may put a bed in for
Right.
a guest house. It has to have plumbing.
Best guest house ever.
I know, so.
But yeah, I like the idea of having a way to essentially opt out, but I don't necessarily think I love the definition of it, if that makes sense. I like the idea of being able to, hey, I don't use this space, I've proven that I don't need 2 cans.
Right.
Can we opt out? And I think
Right.
maybe just creating, you know.
Well, how would you say it then?
The motion on the table to strike O is yours, so.
Yeah,
take a
hold on
moment.
one second. I know I should have done this ahead of time, and I told you I would last meeting, and I didn't. And I wasn't gonna say anything, but then it got said, so. I think, hold on one second. If any container or dumpster is determined by local authorities.
No,
you know,
you're reading P, not
I
O.
know. I'm thinking that I can add it just into O versus having, or add it into P so we don't have to have an O. And then that becomes O. So just hold tight. Apologies to everyone in the room while I use my brain. Takes
So-
longer than usual. Perfect.
So the other, just so you know, I mean, those were examples of things that would qualify, but not limited to office space or a guest house for family or friends that is used for 30 consecutive days or less. So the 30 consecutive days or less does not include the office. That is just
Gotcha.
if someone's living there.
Okay,
Does that make
tracks.
sense now?
That does look
Okay.
better, yeah.
Okay. Because there's an or in there, so. And the receives no monetary reimbursement was like, I
take that out.
put a,
Sometimes families
Again, money
allow
doesn't-
well, the-
family to stay
Listen,
there.
every
because
day,
it's increased
parents are
service.
moving in with their kids. I mean, the
Yeah.
parents are gonna pay.
Well, maybe.
no, but it's gonna
My
be for
brother
more,
charges.
but no, it would be for more than 30 days that they would be living in the guest house. So then they would need a second garbage can. That's the 30 days, so.
I love garbage cans.
Well, no, that, we're saying they would need one. And we're saying they would need one. They have to have one. If someone's living in your guest house for more than 30 days
Well,
at a time, they have to have one.
if we're asking them to certify
An affidavit.
that they don't need it,
Sorry.
then they're kind of putting their name on the line that
Yeah,
if they exceed that trash,
right.
Yeah.
then,
We'll pick them up with P again.
right.
But,
So why do we need O again?
well, we,
Because they don't have an option to get out without it. So they don't have the way by certifying they're there first. That's what O
Right.
gives them the option.
So then can we just say a certification to,
Yeah, O could be a homeowner may request
property owner, I would
a
say?
property owner,
'Cause it could be some ADU situation.
yeah.
reduce dumpsters or,
A property owner may opt out of the required second or
additional
additional
dumpster.
bear-resistant container,
Yep.
provided a
Why
certification
don't we
is filed.
table it for
Yeah.
2 weeks? And we can work on P and O.
Well, see,
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
it's already been approved by Dennison, the wording, the way that
Yeah, I
it
mean,
is.
that
So
doesn't mean
it's
anything.
not, why?
Would Councilmember Root like to
Right.
make a motion?
We're not making much progress.
No.
Well,
Would Councilmember Root
Well-
like to make a motion?
I
I'll make-
just want to say the monetary reimbursement was requested to be put in there by staff to just to double clarify that short-term rentals cannot opt out, period. And long-term rentals cannot opt out. Long-term would be over the 30 days, but short-term would not be. So that's why the monetary reimbursement is in there.
I think that, to Councilmember's point, that the level of discussion says that there's a possibility this paragraph could be cleaner, whether that's, gives them the option to opt out by filing a certification. There's a couple of different things from the wording. I'm fine moving forward with it, or if council wants to move to
I
table.
move to table ordinance number 973 till June 26th. And we can work on the good parts of P and the good parts of O and combine them.
And I'll make
I
the
would-
edits right now so I can send them.
No, we'll say that for that discussion. I would say that there are two very specific purposes that
They
are
are.
not the same, so
They're
I
not.
can keep them
I'll
separate.
take out
but
O
yeah.
and P. I'm just, let's
You
just
just make
table
a
for 2 weeks.
table, I have a motion to table.
I'll second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Rood to table until June 26th, and a second from Councilmember Tupin. which now that's the new motion on the table. Discussion at the table.
Sounds great.
Hearing none, given the nature of that motion, I'm gonna forego. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to. We're still gonna have to do 2 public hearings, but just because it's here and we have the public here, I'm gonna go ahead and open up the public comment in regards to ordinance 973.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And the amendments. Again, we won't be taking action tonight, but just if you'd like to make public input, now is your opportunity. Looking in the room, seeing none. Looking online, going once, twice, 3 times. We'll close the public comment, and we can now say that we gave the public an opportunity to weigh in on that. Outside of, you can still come to the standing committees and weigh in as well, as far as 2 opportunities. Councilmember Root.
I just want to say that I am on Public Works, and this is under the purview of Public Works. And Jody, if you want to meet before our meeting on June 25th, I'd be happy to meet with anyone who wants to help make this easier.
Okay, well, I'd like, Chelsea's gonna work on some wording.
I think I got it.
So,
All right, so just to be clear, the motion on the table is to, table this until June 26th. Any further discussion at the table? May I get a roll call on the last motion?
Battles?
Yes.
Davis? Yes. Ronnie?
yes,
Rude?
Yes?
Cuban?
Yes.
Okay.
Shouldn't it be June 23rd?
I was gonna,
Is it June 23rd?
2 weeks from today is 14.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. We can do that without reworking it. That's just an edit to it. So it'll be at the next council meeting. So the motion to table carries 5-0, and we will move on. I'll entertain a motion for ordinance number 960.
oh, God, it's not mine.
Oh, sure. That one's me. We can fight it. Sorry, I'm rewriting that one. I make a motion to scroll down. I make a motion to approve ordinance number 960, second amendment, an ordinance of the city of Red Lodge, Montana to repeal and replace ordinance 928 and 928A 151 amendment and the municipal code pertaining to event permits and regulations for the use of city-owned land property as governed in Title 8, Chapter 8, use of city-owned property. Just second or first?
Public hearing and first reading.
Public hearing, first reading.
Second.
I have a motion very well articulated by Councilmember Tupin and a second from Councilmember Battles. Discussion at the table.
We have gone through and made our best efforts to allow for public freedom of speech and the right to be able to assemble all of those items. Sorry, it's been a while since we started this, and any other questions for it, or if anyone wants to try and make me pronounce that one word I can't pronounce, they're welcome to. Thank you.
Did we break the separation between indigent and liability so that it's no matter, you don't get out of needing to meet insurance requirements?
No.
I make
I think we
an
did.
amendment, or I move to amend. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I thought we had done that.
I'm pretty sure we
I'm just
did. I did some
looking
double
for the
checking.
validation.
Yep.
Well, I thought we changed it so that if you're indigent, then you don't have to have insurance unless the city's insurance will not cover it.
Yeah.
And then you
I-
just can't have your event.
Yeah, and then you just can't have your event. So,
Right.
yeah. And that looks like it's in 80, you said.
The page before the last page, one page before the last.
8888, item B.
That cannot pay the required, an indigent may include, but is not limited to a person who is eligible to receive or is receiving, okay, blah, blah, blah. I just wanted to see that you suddenly had no liability because you couldn't do it, and to your point, you couldn't have the event.
Right.
And this does go through twice, so if you're comfortable it's there, I'm comfortable moving forward. I just know I'm gonna,
No, I'm double checking, and I'm just going to, I don't see it here. The authority may deny an event application if the P would place an undue burden on the applicant, or if the activity poses a risk to public and or public property.
where is that you're reading, please?
This is 88B2 on page not numbered because
888B2?
47 of the
Okay.
packet.
and I think what we can do there is add authority may deny the application that the fee would place status that the fee would place an undue, deny the application for indigent status, an undue burden on the applicant or the activity poses a risk. See, this isn't the edited version, so.
This is not the edited version. Councilmember Root,
I have the same thing.
do you have a motion?
Oh, no, I don't have a motion.
You sure?
I will,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Can I do something?
no.
I'm not sure.
I will move to amend ordinance 960 under item 888B number 2 to include authority will deny an application for indigent status if the fee would place it, or if the insurer is, oh God, that's that, please help me with this. If the insurer, or if the applicant cannot obtain insurance. Is that what it was that we were trying to?
Yeah, it had nothing to do with indigent status.
Yeah.
It's like if the risk is such that they can't get insurance,
Yep,
then,
gotcha. So how about we do,
because it means it's pretty risky and no one wants to insure it, so we really don't want it. So there were two parts in there.
Yep,
We had,
yep, insurance must be maintained. God, I'm gonna pull up my actual.
Like I said, my concern was just that there is a break between
I
liability and indigence.
moved to table this until next meeting.
I second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Tupin and a second from Councilmember Ronnie to table ordinance 962 second amended to the next council meeting, which by best calculations is June 23rd.
With the updated version that we talked about last time, because this isn't the right version.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Okay,
And
this
so-
is, that's why the confusion is there then.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now Councilmember says, oh, I see where he was going with that. All right, discussion at the table. This is on the motion to table. Hearing none,
We'll pass it eventually.
just being consistent, I'm gonna go ahead and open up to public comment. If anybody would like to comment on
Where is
ordinance 960, this is basically, land use and specifically related to First Amendment speech. Seeing no movement in the room, looking online. Going twice, going three times, we'll bring discussion back to the table. I applaud, council's efforts. I think it's a worthy objective. I think it's a good goal. I think we're just not quite there yet. So, hearing no other discussion at the table, may I get a roll call, please?
Battle?
Yes.
Davis? Yes. Ronnie?
yes.
Ruth?
Yes.
Tupin?
Yes.
Motion to table passes 5-0.
Sure,
And we will move those both forward and look forward to having those conversations next. All right, that concludes the action portion of our meeting. For those who are not regular attendees, we do have 35 minutes roughly left. This is where council takes the opportunity to share what has been happening in the standing committee meeting so that the full council is aware, and hopefully get the prep work done so that the action portion can go smoothly in the future. So none of these will be actions and nor have individual comments on them, but there will be a public comment at the end. And again, you are invited to attend the related standing committee meetings on any of these topics that we discussed. First off, we're going to go to public health and safety, and public health and safety meeting was actually canceled this week. But however, we do have the Red Lodge Rural fire report on here. Council Member Davis, if you want to take a minute, I do know that we have the fire chief online if you have any questions or things you want to throw to him too. But Council Member Davis, I'll give the floor to you.
Thank
thank you. I'm the liaison for the city, with the Red Lodge Rural Fire District Oversight Committee. And so, they meet once a month in the middle of the month at the fire, station. And so, the report that they've provided is in the council packet as well, for your reference. It has great, graphs and history and details, over the last, period recap on, their numbers and reports. So some highlights that they shared: 780 calls for the year so far, not from July, correct me, Tom, for whatever I say if it's incorrect, July 2025 to April 2026. So that was an increase in the call volume from the previous year. They've done a lot, it sounds like they have done a lot of efficiency improvements that they've been working on. So they're really seeing the results from those, for the new reporting system, allows for better credit card monitoring, reporting, additional details that transmits nicely into QuickBooks now, more transparent, greater accuracy in the reporting. The bill payment processing, they've updated, so it's streamlining the efficiency for staff processing the payments, and the receipt from the recipients too, so it's benefiting both parties. Looks like their budget and the actual versus actuals are right on track. Wildfire expenses naturally vary each year. The EMS billing revenue was up about $100K from last year, so that was attributed to increased reimbursements, the receipt of reimbursements in the call volume. So a lot of positive movement happening. Working on their structure, internal structure for efficiency, meeting the needs of the volunteers to greater organization and efficiency of what the process and the use of their volunteers and workforce. So they're formalizing the process for equipment review as well. So protocol testing, maintenance, scheduling, incorporating into the software system. So that'll be streamlined as well, save a ton of time and have more consistency. And I'm sure which would also improve on safety as well. So they're adjusting the membership, the strategies for successful engagement, meeting the membership, what their needs are, what they want out of their membership, and meeting it with the needs of the department as well, the fire district. So they're working on crossover trainings too for efficiency and greater skills with the EMS, fire, and search and rescue. And it's really great to learn about the vehicles. They have a lot of details, and cost review, capital improvement focus, review the cost and longevity of the vehicles, rotation hierarchy for safety, and best use of their financial resources too, and capital improvement plan that they always keep top of mind. So that's some of the highlights from what I gather from enjoying these meetings and learning more.
Fire Chief Coons, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
I think Councilman Davis did an excellent job of summarizing that. The one thing that I would add is that, and I believe I mentioned this to council last time, we have had a grant for a volunteer coordinator position, and that grant expired, so we will be eliminating that position at the end of this year. We funded it out of budget funds this year. The grant expired last year, but we were unable to continue that. And so we've actually had a fairly significant reduction in the number of paid staff members that we've had over the last 2 years with Tim Ryan's departure and John Trapp's departure. We have backfilled essentially one of those positions full time, but so we have, due to basically the way our funding streams are working, we've had to cut some positions. The city is not immune to either, as I understand.
And Tom, I also forgot to mention about the federal community funding grant for the fire station improvement plans, which we'll touch on later in the meeting. But it was great to see, get a visual. Tom took me on a little walk and gave me a visual of their plans from the federal community funding grant for the fire station improvements.
And Chief Coons, if you're able to stay on for those conversations, that would be great and wonderful. One of the things I'll just kind of remind the public as well, in Montana State Code, the city is responsible for providing certain services. we are required to provide police protection, and we are required to provide fire. Interestingly enough, we are not required to provide ambulance. So we have what is actually fairly common throughout the state. Fire and rescue are basically two functions that work together very, very seamlessly, half of which is helping us fulfill our role as the city, and the other half is just a community need that's being addressed, but the city doesn't have any involvement in that. So as you have a lot of the conversations, as you see discussions about the ambulance district on your taxes or as initiative comes up, and the fire, we will frequently, as we look at these reports, very frequently they combine those two functions. But just for the public's awareness, those are two specific functions. While they're all public safety, one of them ties to a municipal responsibility, and the other one is just a community need that they address. All right, any other questions from the table?
I have a question.
Councilmember Root.
I noticed here the Montana State Fund, $6,700. Is that perchance for insurance?
Yes.
Yes, we have been using Montana State Fund for the last, I think since 2014. We used to be insured with the city actually, and so that they are our work comp provider, and we have had very good luck with them as a work comp provider.
Good. And I also noticed just as all the volunteers and what they're getting paid, they are truly volunteers. They're not getting rich, so kudos to them.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and close that item if there's no other questions from the table. All right, next we will move to the admin and finance, and for that we will look to Committee Chair Ronning, who I'm sure is about to punt it to me.
I know, I am. Yes, we talked about everything A through E. So during our meeting, and then in the packet now up for discussion is the Red Lodge Rural Fire District. I'm sorry, the amendment to the Red Lodge Rural Department contract. And with this, as we've discussed, it's our way of making it so it's not a mills-based contract anymore. It's a set dollar amount coming out of the general fund. We do not know what the mill amount will be yet, and we won't until August. Currently, our contract reads 28 mills, so this is an amendment to our current agreement. And it would make a flat dollar amount of $240,000 out of general fund for our contract. And then to make up the right, yes, I'm just talking for this budget year. And then we would also pay 10% of the 3% of the resort tax revenue to make up the difference. So go ahead.
Okay. So in reaching out to our auditors, one of the things our auditors have requested is that before we go into this, we have a legal opinion that basically says this is a valid use of the resort tax funds. And so what happened is our legal counsel was requested to do analysis and comment, and then provide a list of what changes might be made to the contract, needed to the contract in order to make it so he was comfortable writing his legal opinion. So in your packet, you will have two different versions of the same agreement. The first is the agreement that was prepared by the fire district's legal counsel. The second is the version that was prepared by our city legal counsel. I will say that it had been my hope to have these close enough to be able to reconcile them so that we could move this forward for action next time. Having met with the parties, I don't believe we're there yet. Dennison is doing some additional homework and reaching out to the AG to determine which of these things were basically legal requirements and necessities to basically have him feel comfortable doing a legal opinion versus which one of them. And just as a clue into his thinking, he has in there the language I feel like I'm missing a page. Oh, maybe it's in the legal opinion, which he emphasized was a draft, but it talks about the language, that was actually put on the voter ballot. And his basis, just for council's information, was that he basically said, city, because I'm looking for, maybe there's somebody spots it before me, it actually has the language where it says, can be used for, it's on the second page of the first page of the opinion. No, it's not
For
the first.
you mean the use
Second.
2-4-9 use of tax money?
It's the analysis, so it's the section just above 2-4-9.
Okay.
And so it has the ballot language that says capital improvements to streets, alleys, water, sewer, stormwaters, emergency service, urban forestry, trails, parks, recreational facilities, and city beautification and debt repayment. That is the specific language. And in his reading, what he was reading was not for the benefit of city streets or for the benefit of city alleys. He was reading it as capital improvements to city streets, city alleys, city water, city sewer, city emergency services. And he indicated that that was what was driving his input on the contract, which was why he had some things in there about the city will retain usage of the properties. The fire district had a concern with that because when you start spreading out partial ownership, they felt that if we did that, what we need to do is that if the city was going to own a fire truck, that the city was buying the full fire truck, that we were doing the financing for the fire truck. I have concerns and hesitations about going down that road. So like I said, the two parties are kind of revisiting, but I wanted to share with council and with the public where we are at this point. And this, I think at this point, that's all it is here's where we are in the conversation. I hope to have this resolved sooner rather than later so that we can know that we're working with this in our budget. We are in the process of forming our budgets right now, and it'd be nice to know what our numbers are.
So
rather than waiting till August.
It does, in my opinion, I mean, I'm obviously not an attorney, but it doesn't say that, what was passed. You know, there's not a city in front of each one of those things.
I
I
understand.
mean, it
but
might be implied, but it's not there.
So I've requested some additional homework, and he's gonna reach out and kind of see on that.
Okay.
But the answer is, I'm not gonna tell him what his opinion is. He needs to feel comfortable writing his opinion.
I
And so the
agree.
request is,
But-
what do you feel needs to be
So-
amended in that?
I will say that we are, and this has been brought up before, one of the only resort tax communities that do not use resort tax to pay for fire services. And so I mean, the way it's written, it says that we can pay for capital improvements to streets, alleys, water, sewer, stormwater, and emergency services.
And
So-
it also includes urban
And
forestry
forestry
trails
trails.
and parks and
Yeah.
recreational, so there's stuff that, you
Yeah.
know.
So
Yeah, so that is where the discussion is at. Any other questions or information for me to relay on? Noted, and I will share that.
okay, thank you.
That's in line with kind of the questions that I asked.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else? We'll go back to Committee Chair Ronnie.
Is there any other, is there any questions on this or comments? Obviously, it's not ready for prime time,
No.
so, so it's not going to be up for vote next time for us to table it again.
I have a little, did anybody listen to the webinar yesterday about our tax?
This is on C-134?
17?
Yeah.
I just wondered, I understood 25% of it, that was pretty good, but, they're gonna send slides out so we can read them, but it was pretty interesting, actually.
So there was an action afoot to cut municipalities off at a maximum of 2%. So if you think we had a pain point from half of the average rate of inflation over the last 3 years, there was an action afoot to cut us off at 2%.
Oh,
So,
Wow,
that has been paused, and stay tuned to see what the future
Okay.
legislation session brings about that.
Anyway,
okay. So if there's no other questions on this, the only other thing, would be for our council training. I did forward over the email, with the meeting or training over in Columbus on July 9th. So please, you know, if you can make it, do so. It's a great training. I know that, you know, if we can carpool over, might be more fun, so.
And I would call attention particularly to the morning part of that agenda, because I think it's in direct line with questions that we've had from council.
Yeah, like who does what, understanding roles in municipal government, so.
I'll be out of town. I know I'm the one kind of got with something about this, but I'll be out of town. Okay, so I won't be there.
Did they have it live, online webinar?
I'll be in Florida. I'm not listening.
Okay.
She's been doing the online classes, so.
Yes.
They also hold summits, these summits, they hold them throughout the year.
Okay.
So there'll be probably another opportunity.
It probably won't be so close.
Yeah,
I
Columbus
would
is
say
only,
enjoy Florida, but Florida.
yeah, I know, in the summertime, yeah, that's not good. Anything else, Jeremy or Chelsea, that you wanted to bring up that I might have missed from admin and finance?
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let's move on to land use and planning, and for that, we will go to committee chair Tupin, and I was there, so I know what we did and didn't get through. Would you please be conscious of the time as you summarize?
I'm gonna go so slow. So we did have a wonderful conversation and working session with Jeremy Thadness with WWC Planning. They are our contracted city planner, and we talked about the process for designating and changing the use of city-owned land. Went through that process kind of template that they had drafted together. We made it, I don't know, 3 pages deep? Pretty good so far out of 10? Maybe a little bit less, a little more, but on a whole, really happy with the direction that's taking, and just having those conversations with a planner, I think, is extremely beneficial. And then just also having members of the public bringing their opinions to the table, and just, I think it's really taking good shape. We didn't get into too much of our agenda. It was a very thick agenda, but I think on a whole, we really want to spend as much time on that process for designating and changing use of city-owned land. There has been one of the things that we'll be getting to is the fire department boundary relocation, then a request for inclusion of parks in the historic register. And I know that Jeremy did a little bit of follow-up. Do you want to speak to that now, or do you want to wait till our next meeting when we can all talk about it?
Yeah, I emailed Marv Keller about some questions on just the process of like the historical commission, what their role was, whether he was submitting this proposal as an individual, which he is until the commission can fully meet and all that stuff. So that'll be in next week's packet,
Yeah.
I believe.
And just for a little bit of context for those in the room who don't know, that is specifically a request from the public to include Finn and Lions Park on the historic register. So pretty detailed emails that was in the packet, so please take a look. I think it's interesting information. There's some cool old maps in there as well. And then we did actually get to talk to Jeremy a little bit about the request for boundary relocation on Nutting Row. Essentially, there's an encroachment happening at one of our neighbors' homes, and they have a I'm not going to call it in-depth, but structurally important retaining wall that is on city property as of right now, along with fence and garden and little greenhouse up in there as well. And so we had the conversation with our planner about his approach and his recommendation of how to approach that. And so it'll be a continuing conversation, and essentially it'll be up to the homeowners to decide how they would like to approach that, whether it be a boundary relocation or an encroachment agreement specifically. So that's kind of a rundown of what we spoke about. I do encourage everybody to take a look at that process for designating and changing the use of city-owned land. I think it's a really impressive document as of now, and has some room to take more shape, but really happy with the direction it's going, and hope it will be a staple and create more documents that we get to create in the future. We already know that, so.
I would like Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, do we need to go into more depth on the fire department boundary
Yeah,
relocation?
I was gonna go back to the fire
Okay.
boundary, because I'd like, for timing reasons, I'd like this to be up for action next
Oh.
time.
Sure.
So if you go look at the map that is in that spot, the short version of this is the fire department wants to use that funding that Councilmember Davis talked about, to expand that facility. In order to do that, they're going to expand that facility north, which is currently property owned by the Reynolds. What they're going to get, so what's gonna happen is the property, and Chief Coons, please feel free to jump in if I explain this wrong. So basically, in order, there's a three-way trade going on here. As this building expands, there's going to be a new alley that is required, different from the existing alley that's there. So what's gonna take is, we're going to abandon the existing alley. That is going to go to the Reynolds, and the fire department is donating a piece of land to us, which will be the new right-of-way. So there's like a three-way triangle where all the pieces fit together, and the map makes the most sense of that. And Chief Coons, I feel like I might have butchered that a little bit, so please feel free and correct anything I said.
Yeah, so I think you essentially described it correctly. Currently, the fire district owns the property on two sides of this alley, and the Reynolds own it on one side. And so we want to expand, we want to do a boundary relocation so that the station expansion can have bays that go out onto Main Street for, a quick and improved fire response. So the fire trucks would come out onto Main Street. The advantage to us in doing this, the way this works, is we'll actually be able to, because there is state right-of-way and Old City Street in front of this property, we'll be able to back the trucks into the station without having to be on the state highway, which currently we have to be on the state highway on the 78 side. That we won't fully be off that, because the ambulances will still be on the 78 side, but the fire trucks, which are bigger and more, create more of a traffic hazard, will be on the Highway 212 side, but they'll be set back enough now that they'll be able to back in and pull out without actually being in the highway. So it's much safer. It also, when the fire trucks pull out, they're slower, and traffic comes around the roundabout and goes up Highway 78. And when people, because it's kind of a blind corner, even though it comes through the roundabout, people will often accelerate through that. So we'll be able to have more visibility for pulling out fire trucks as well. But in order to do this, long way of saying, we have to relocate the lot boundaries. The Reynolds have agreed to that boundary relocation, but in order to accomplish it, we have to move the alley. So the alley there'll still be an alley there, and it will, all the traffic flow will work properly. We'll probably have to relocate some utilities with the alley relocation, although no one is exactly sure where the sewer lines are, which causes some challenge. But
Yeah.
that all will have to be rectified in some way during this project.
I will share that this has already been through our planner, this has already been through legal, this has already been with our public works. So all of the staff input has done the work and feel pretty comfortable moving forward with this. It's just, so I want to take this question is, what other questions from council so that I can come prepared to answer those questions for council and we can move forward with this?
So we don't have to do an appraisal of like kind, because we're just swapping an alley for an alley, correct? So there's no appraisal or anything like that has to happen?
Correct.
Okay.
And I'm happy to have Dennis in here at the next meeting if council feels that's helpful.
Yep.
But part of it is it's not just, it's also an alley, so that requires an actual abandonment, which is one of those things we don't do unless there's a really significant reason.
We're
trading it for another one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
We're moving it, but the way you move it is to abandon one and build a new one.
Right. So it's a swap.
I think it makes more sense, honestly.
Pardon?
Makes more sense and it looks more efficient. And, I mean, right now all it is a bunch of grass and parking lots, and are they gonna have to take out any trees to do this?
Doesn't look like it.
I don't think so.
Chief Coons, you want to speak to that?
No, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think there will be removal of trees. Not for, no, I believe there are no tree removals for our project.
Yep. I'm pretty sure it's just all up on the street.
Is council comfortable moving this forward next week?
Yeah.
Okay.
And ultimately, this
And-
project aligns with the Urban Renewals District's, desire to improve that entrance to town and to make those improvements there, so.
And we'll hope that Chief Coons is able to be here next time. He had personal issues that pulled him away this time, and we certainly understand that. All right. Any other questions for land use and planning? All right, so next that, let's go to Public Works. Committee Chair Ronning, anything you want to share from that meeting? Other than we have a couple of ordinances we're going to be revisiting?
Just a couple ordinances will be, only one from Public Works that we'll be revisiting.
I sent over my edits.
Thank you.
Okay.
Get it ahead of time.
All right, any questions for Public Works? All right, moving on. This is an opportunity for council to raise any additional items for future discussion, have a chance to put something on the agenda that is not on the agenda. Anything from council?
I did receive some correspondence from someone within our ward, and there was just some concerns with the growing staging area on the county property across from Sam's Tap Room.
Oh, that's staging area.
Yeah, and it's in county land, and I made a very clear mention that it's kind of outside of our jurisdiction and not something that we have authority of, and they just assume that because it's in the urban renewal area and our entrance, it might be in our best interest to make a friendly request.
I'm happy to do that, and that, just to be clear, that's in the correspondence part of the agenda, not for the, let's add something to the agenda part of the agenda.
My bad.
No,
The new
I-
section.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay. All right, hearing none, let's move on to correspondence. Any additional correspondence?
I have another one. From another member of our ward, concerns of, and this is not the first time that I've heard from them on this issue, and I've given them some of the contact as well, but I just think it's worth noting, again, talking about neighbors, something that's also a county issue, and specifically the water and ditch rights, the ditch that runs along 78 on Upper Continental, or by Upper Continental and Jack Lackey, that neighborhood back there. Just some overflow that we tend to get this time of year, and kind of a lack of cleanup that tends for that water to come up onto their land and shore, which I can see that being problematic in the future.
I do know the Public Works is actually following up on a couple of spots that were within city limits. There was
Okay.
one up by the dog park.
Okay,
There was also some stuff down by Coal Miners Park.
okay.
And he has reached out, and last I'd heard, he had not yet heard a response from the ditch owners, work with them. He did indicate that from his past experience, they tend to get an awful lot of leeway on the ditches. Water is a pretty big deal in Montana, as you all know.
Yeah. Mhm.
But as soon as we get an update on those that are within city boundaries,
And
I
this
will let you
one
know.
actually, I think, could be within city boundaries because it is coming up on the shore of a city neighborhood. So that is something that might just be worth noting. Again, the biggest concern of that is with it coming up and that soft surrounding soil, trees starting to fall, which can create a public health and safety risk.
Councilmember Tupin, can I ask you to please send an email with an approximate address of that and to our Public Works Director, and just CC me on that? And just kind of in that is, when you're talking to the ditch people, will you please throw in this third area if it's within city limits?
Yep, and I know, again, about 2
Right,
years
is it in the
ago.
form of a question?
Right. And about 2 years ago, I did speak with Bill Bullock about it, and, oh God, I can't remember, the water district as well. But, so that was something that was brought up, and that they said, would it be addressed?
Any other correspondence that the council would like to share? All right, hearing none, we are going to go to public comment to round out our meeting. Again, this is the final opportunity for the public to address and be heard by the council. All the same rules apply. I'll go ahead and open up public comment. Looking to the room. Please go ahead and step forward. Outside voices.
Steve Wright, 215 Nutty. Again, we would like to thank the council and the mayor for looking at our problem up on, as far as the encroachment goes, up on 215 Nutty. And we will take the advice of the land use committee to seek out an agreement on that piece of property in the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Yep.
Any other comments? Looking to the chambers.
Greg O'Neill. I don't spend my nights looking at the 1921 plats that are handwritten, hand-drawn. I wonder, before the advent of surveying equipment, how many other situations like this exist? And have we had other applications? So I just pose that as a question. The second point I would like to make is that they're requesting an adjustment of the northern property boundary. There is also a dispute on their western property boundary with the neighbor. And in fact, that neighbor's garage encroaches on the Wrights' lot by about 3 feet roughly. There was an approach by that neighbor to solicit an encroachment agreement, and I would like to know the outcome of that, but I have been told it was rejected. So in looking at these property line adjustments, I just wonder what sort of barrage of applications that we might have as a city, and what kind of precedent this would set. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Any other comments in the room? Please come forward.
I'm Paula Wright.
And again, just make sure you address comments to the table, please.
Paula Wright, from Red Lodge. Just for Mr. O'Neill's comment about the encroachment on our neighbors with Mr. Salverson is our private business, and he has made an offer, and we have advised our attorney we're in a holding pattern. We have not rejected his offer, so he's misinformed. And I just want to clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. Any other comments from the room? All right, looking to online, looking for unmuted mics, waving hands, video cameras on, public comment twice, public comment 3 times. Going to go ahead and close public comment. We will bring this back. Just before we wrap up the meeting, I would like to say thank you all for attending these meetings. It's kind of nice to see a large public presence involved in our public meetings, and I appreciate that, and I understand the sacrifice that takes from your time, as does everybody at this table. So thank you, and with that, we will adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.